Welcome to the Missouri Leadership Development System On-Demand Principal Leadership Series. I'm Mike Rutherford, and I'm happy to be your host and guide for this on-demand series. The MLDS, Missouri Leadership Development System, is a comprehensive set of professional learning experiences designed by and for Missouri school leaders. This on-demand series is intended to preview, complement, and introduce a few of the nearly 100 leadership lessons that are contained in the Missouri Leadership Development System curriculum. Each episode of our on-demand series will have three components: a short video where I attempt to explain the leadership concept, a PDF file of written materials that will support each lesson, and a podcast so that you can engage with each leadership lesson in a mobile fashion should you decide to do that. We hope you'll find this on-demand series not only convenient and accessible, but also powerful and productive. Information on how you can engage in the full spectrum of MLDS leadership learning can be found at dese.mo.gov. There's also a complete listing of all of the MLDS specialists for your region in the PDF file that accompanies each episode. Thank you for participating. Welcome to the MLDS On-Demand Principal Leadership Series. This is episode 3, Building True Community Inside Schools. So, true community is, I guess, a lot like a high-performing team. It has a lot to do with groups of people coming together to do great work, but also to enjoy and complement one another and play off of one another's strengths. It's a hard concept to define, but we've all experienced it. I've experienced true community, so have you. I think for most of us, it's the type of thing that we don't experience always on a daily basis. But I can think back in my life to, a handful of times when I was a part of a group of people doing good work, and the work actually became way more productive and higher quality than any one of us could have done on our own. We were a team. Maybe at that time we were kind of like a high-performing team, but there was something extra. There was something more personal to it. I know when I was a junior in high school, I was on a traveling baseball team, and we traveled all over the state of Indiana playing baseball every day. And you know, the members of that team, we were an okay baseball team, but we got to be a really tight-knit group. That may have been my first exposure to this thing called true community. When I was in graduate school at the University of Wyoming, we had a cohort of people from all around the country that came together to study school leadership. And kind of being out in the high plains of Wyoming, 2,000 miles away from my home, led that group into what I would call a true community. One of my first principalships, the 3 assistant principals and I, it was a challenging school. And I have to think back and remember that as we got to know each other and work together, I think we advanced past that high-performing team level into something that I would call true community. So true community is a high-performing team, but it's more than that. It's when the people on the team have come together and they're able to do excellent work, and their commitments to one another and the experience of working together goes way beyond just the decisions that were made or just the work that was done. You know, the case for true community is this. If all we want people to do in our schools is just implement things that have already been decided, just run with the curriculum as it is, look at the policies and simply implement them, I don't know that we need a true community for that. But if we're going to ask people to do things that really, if we're honest, have never yet been done, or have never yet been done to the degree or the quality that we're asking them to do, then that requires, that's the case for true community. True community benefits both the people on the team, and it benefits the people that are served by the people on the team because of the quality of work that comes from a true community. Probably one of the first and best people to write about true community was the American psychiatrist and author M. Scott Peck, most famous for his best-selling book, The Road Less Traveled. He wrote another book that speaks to true community, and I have his definition of true community here. This is from his book, The Different Drum, Community Making in Peace. M. Scott Peck on true community. He says, if we're going to use the word community meaningfully, we must restrict it to a group of individuals who have learned how to communicate honestly with each other, whose relationships go deeper than their masks of composure, and who have developed some significant commitment to rejoice together, mourn together, to delight in each other, and to make others' conditions our own. Peck's definition of true community, as I look at that and study it, I hear three main ideas. True communities have these three attributes. Number one, honest communication. People's communication with one another is truthful and honest. Did you ever see the Jim Carrey movie, Liar, Liar? It was a great comedy. Of course, the plot line is that Jim Carrey, the main character, for some reason cannot tell a lie. He has to tell the absolute truth to every person that he comes in contact with. It's hilarious and kind of sad too, the fact that so much of our communication is not completely honest. Peck says that's one of the things that differentiates a true community is open and honest communication. Number two, Peck says, in a true community, we set aside our masks of composure. Composure masks. So that's that sense that we give to everyone around us that we're okay, that everything's working great for us, that we're in charge, that life's going great. How about you? And in truth, what we know is we're all a lot more close to the edge, and none of us is doing as well as sometimes we appear to. Don't you have a few friends, don't you have some members of your family that you can take off your mask of composure and just be who you are? I know you have to put it on pretty quickly to interact with the rest of the world. Peck says that's one of the characteristics of a true community. We can temporarily set aside these masks of composure. The third attribute of a true community, Peck says, is we make others' conditions our own. When some people in our group are celebrating, we celebrate with them. When something bad has happened and people are mourning, we mourn together. We make one another's conditions our own. Those are three characteristics of true community. As a school administrator, thinking about true community, knowing that it's not guaranteed, that as we try to build true community inside our schools, it won't always succeed. And when it does succeed, it's likely to be fleeting. It won't last forever. We'll revert back to lesser levels of true community. Here's why we think it's worth it. Number one, people deserve it. And high-performing, talented people are attracted to schools where they can not only work on a high-performing team, but where they can experience this higher level called a true community. And number two, the work is better. It's more innovative, it's more creative, it's more generative. It's more fun to do things that have never been done before than to just continue to do things as they've been done in the past. One of the things that Peck does in his book, The Different Drum, is he lays out 4 stages of community development. He said no group of people goes from just a relatively high-performing team to true community just in one step. The 4 steps of community development then are, number 1, pseudo-community, which is where we pretend that we're in community. We've just gotten to know each other. We've only been on this team for a few weeks, but we're polite and we're tactful. We're not communicating honestly yet. We have not yet taken off our masks of composure. I think that's interesting, don't you? That all true communities start by pretending that they're already there, even though they're not. Step 2 in the stages of community development is called chaos. So chaos means someone in the group stops pretending and starts to speak honestly. And when that happens, since we're not at all used to doing that, then we're a bit clumsy and awkward and chaos ensues. Peck says that chaos is always a choice point. He said most groups of people, when they encounter chaos, choose to go back to pseudo-community. But A high-performing group might choose to go forward from chaos, and the third step of community development is called, in Peck's words, emptiness. Now that's an unsatisfying term, isn't it? Emptiness. Stage 3 in community development is called emptiness. It really is defined more by what it's not than by what it is. So if I can paraphrase, emptiness is when we stop pretending, and we stop fighting, and we stop the chaos, and we stop trying to convert one another and win the argument, and we put aside our masks of composure. We're not in true community yet, but we refuse to go back to pretending. It's kind of a little bit of a no man's land for a while. And Peck says that if you'll just stay in emptiness for long enough, that the natural condition that humans, always migrate toward is true community. It'll happen. And true community, there's an ease. Conflict is easier. Honesty is there. Taking others' conditions onto ourselves, all those attributes we talked about. So, pseudo-community, then chaos, then emptiness, then true community. And remember, chaos is a choice point. Most people and groups from chaos go back to pseudo-community, but a few brave teams and souls go forward into emptiness. The case for true community, I think, is compelling. Number one, we want to build true community inside schools because it's best for the people that work there. And number two, it produces high quality, innovative, creative work. And that's what's best for the families and the students that we serve. Thanks for participating.